Today we are going to discuss inflammatory bowel disease, one of the frequently found disorder of our GI tract. How it is defined? It is a disease which is idiopathic and chronic in its characteristic, which is relapsing, remitting inflammatory intestinal conditions. So it's relapsing and remitting, that it keeps on repeating itself. It's an inflammatory disease, as the name suggests, inflammatory bowel disease, which in turn affects body's ability to digest food, absorb nutrition, and eliminate waste. So overall, it will have its effect on the entire digestive process of digesting food, absorbing the nutrients, and eliminating the waste out of it. Mainly, it can be classified in two parts. It is Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So the two variants of inflammatory bowel disease are Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So it should be quite clear to us that this disease condition is what it is. It stays within the body for a very long period of time. So it's not a 1 day or 2 day process. It will remit and relapse. That means the patient might feel have some duration of good days and also some bad days. That is good days where the patient won't feel any symptoms associated with this disease in his body. Overall, the effect of this disease is disturbed digestion and absorption and elimination of the waste. And we have categorized in two types, that is the ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now let us see what ulcerative colitis means to us. Usually the location or the part of the GI tract affected is the large intestine and the rectum. The inflammation occurs only in the most layer of the lining of the intestine. As we know, that the intestinal wall is made up of serous layer, muscular layer, submucosal, and mucous layer. So the mucosal layer in this particular condition gets inflamed, and that too of a particular region, that is the large intestine and the rectum. This disease usually begins in the rectum and the lower colon, may also spread continuously to involve the entire colon. So it's an ascending type of disorder where the disease starts from the rectum. It may involve the entire large intestine. Crohn's disease, what happens in it's a transmural inflammation. So transmural means it's not the innermost lining. In fact, it's almost the entire thickness of the bowel or the intestinal wall, which might get affected. Usually, it affects the small intestine. That is a terminal part of small intestine. That is the ileum, where it has its association or continuation with the large intestine or the cecum part. It is not continuous. We do see the patches or discrete patches of Crohn's disease. It's not a continuous lesion. We might also see the large intestine involved in it, where the patches are such that we might have a patch which is having the affection, then followed by a healthy patch, and then again the appearance of a diseased patch. So this is a pictorial diagram. So the continuous lesion is a marked feature of ulcerative colitis, whereas skip lesions or discrete patches can be seen in Crohn's disease. So what are the patches or what are the lesions? They are basically lesions caused by an inflammation. Intermediate colitis. In some individual, it is difficult to determine whether the disease is Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. So In such diseases, the terminology intermittent colitis is used. So this terminology we need to keep in mind where the diagnosis is not confirmed, whether it is ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. This might be intermittent colitis. So you can see as ulcerative colitis was only involving the mucosal layer, whereas Crohn's disease is involving the entire thickness. So it's a comparative picture of a healthy colon with the two ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now about the etiology, although the etiology remains unknown or the exact cause of the disease remains unknown, but still we do relate the genetic predisposition to this disease. Also the mucosal immune system, immunoregulatory defects. There is some autoimmune response related to development of this disease and some environmental triggers like bacterial infections, administration of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and smoking can be related to incidences of this disease. So what happens here is genetically there are few genes associated which are found to be responsible for development of this disease. Environmentally, diet, smoking, activities, and latitude, the placement, the geographical placement is also important. Immunologically impaired epithelial barrier function, immunodysregulation, and overreactive response to autophagy is also seen. Microbiome, there are certain bacteria and other microorganisms which may also contribute to the development of inflammatory bowel disease. Now, looking into the details of the structures, the etiological causes, diet, that is the fat intake, uh, the fast foods, milk, and fiber consumptions also do affect. Infections of Mycobacterium, paratuberculosis may cause Crohn's disease, whereas ulcerative colitis are seen after the episode of infective diarrhea. Enteric microflora, the intestinal microbiota, which do involve certain bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa, is crucial for the development of host immune response, but also appears to be the target of the inflammatory response during IBD. The composition of intestinal microbiota appears to be altered during diseases. Genetically, first degree relatives are more prone if a person is having this disease than the first degree or the immediate blood related uh, relatives would have tendency. Linkage of human lymphocyte antibodies is also associated with what cases have been seen with such association, and it occurs greater in monozygotic twins. Antibiotics, administration of recurrent antibiotics may precipitate this disease due to change in the enteric microflora. Now, these antibiotics will not only kill the pathogenic bacteria but also the micro, microflora present in the intestine. So this is a small picture telling you about the various parts of our small and large intestine. Now look at the location. So if only the rectum is getting involved, then it is known as proctitis. And if the sigmoid colon along with the rectum is getting involved, then this is known as proctosigmoiditis. And then if descending colon is also involved, this is distal colitis. If the whole of the large intestine is involved, then it is known as pancolitis. And if only the ileum gets involved, then it is known as backwash ileitis. Now, name itself refers to the different parts of large intestine involved. For the locations of Crohn's disease, the ileum is getting involved in its ileocolitis, and you can see along with ileum, a small part of rectum and colon was also involved, so ileocolitis. If it's only the ileum, then it's ileitis. If it's a part of stomach and duodenum, then it's just gastroduodenal Crohn's disease. Jejunum and ileum involved, jejunoileitis. If it's different parts of colon, then it's Crohn granulomatous colitis. And if it's only localized till the rectum region, it is perianal Crohn's disease. So this classification itself is uh, telling you or suggesting you the names, which part of the large or the small intestine is involved. Now, if you can see the pathogenesis here, there are certain antigens to which our immune system might respond. And as you can see, the difference between a normal and an IBD state, where the antigen are being responded uh, in such a way that it leads to uncontrolled inflammatory state. So this uncontrolled inflammation is the real reason for development of IBD. Uncontrolled inflammation. So what will happen is triggering events like stress or smoking or exposure of any irritant into the intestine, which causes dysregulated inflammatory and immune response in genetically susceptible person, which causes amplification of immune response, which in turn will release which in turn will release many inflammatory mediators like release of TNF alpha and pro-inflammatory interleukin, mucus breakdown and continuous exposure to human dietary or bacterial antigen, impaired handling of microbial antigen by the immune system, and that causes inflammation. So overall, the pathophysiology can be summarized in a way that any triggering event leads into an imbalanced immune response and the inflammatory condition, which leads to an uncontrolled inflammation of either the entire thickness or a portion, only the innermost layer of the intestinal wall. This inflammation or the inflammation caused will cause loss of fine vascular pattern, um, which causes mucosal friability, which in turn will cause pseudopolyps, ulceration, and exudates, which will cause ulcerative colitis. Whereas this inflammation, uh, if repeated, will cause cryptitis. This crypt of liver wounds would get affected, which causes crypt abscess influx and epithelial necrosis, focal epithoid ulceration, influx and proliferation of inflammatory mediators, transmural inflammation, lymphedema, and bowel wall thickening, which leads into Crohn's disease. So the pattern can be quite understood that as in ulcerative colitis, only the mucosal layer is getting affected, leading to formation of ulcerations and pseudopolyps, whereas here the crypt, which runs through the entire length of the mucosal layer and the submucous layer, along with uh, transmural inflammation, that is entire thickness of this uh, vessel wall will get involved, and thickening will cause, and through the Crohn's disease we see an extra thickened area of the intestinal wall. Now the symptoms, We'll continue with the symptoms of ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease in the next.